In the frozen shadows of 1930s Russia, there lived a little girl whose face never changed. While the world aged, she remained a child, forever trapped in the same body, the same fragile frame. At first, neighbors whispered about miracles. But soon, whispers turned to suspicion and suspicion to fear. Her own parents began to look at her with trembling eyes, as if she was something unnatural, something dangerous. Was she a gift from heaven, or a curse that revealed the darkest truths of society? And why did even those who loved her most begin to turn away in terror? Her name was Anya, born in a small rural town outside Moscow in the early years of Stalin's tightening grip. She was a daughter of poor farmers, people already struggling against poverty, hunger, and the crushing weight of the Soviet state. At first, Anya seemed like any other child. She laughed, stumbled, learned to speak, and clung to her mother's skirt with wide, trusting eyes. But as the years passed, her parents noticed something strange. While the other children grew taller, stronger, and older, Anya remained unchanged. At age 7, she looked exactly as she had at age 4. By 10, she still looked like a fragile little girl, her hair tied in ribbons, her cheeks round and soft. At first, her parents hid it, hoping it was a passing delay. They told neighbors she was small for her age. But people noticed. The village was not kind to differences, especially in a time when suspicion ruled every interaction. Whispers began. Some said she was a miracle. Others claimed she was cursed. And in a country already haunted by paranoia, being different was dangerous. For Anya's parents, love turned into fear. They wanted to protect her, yet they knew that to shelter a child who never aged was to draw the wrath of both neighbors and the authorities. They began to wonder, what if their daughter wasn't human at all? Life in Stalin's Russia was already suffocating, but for Anya, it became unbearable. In school, the other children mocked her. They called her a frozen doll, shoved her in the mud, and refused to sit near her. Teachers, unable to explain her condition, marked her as a distraction. Some even suggested she be sent away, hidden in a state home where people like her disappeared. Her family's poverty deepened the cruelty. Farmers barely had enough food, and famine loomed over the countryside. To many, Anya's unchanging body was not only strange but threatening. In an age when superstition mixed with political fear, people whispered that she was a reason crops failed, that she was a bad omen. Even her relatives refused to share bread with her. The cruelty did not stop with words. Stones were thrown at her when she walked to fetch water. Doors slammed in her face when she sought warmth from neighbors. By the time she should have been a teenager, Anya still looked like a child, but her eyes were far older, carved with pain no child should bear. The injustice burned deeper, because it was not just about her condition, it was about difference itself. In a country where conformity meant survival, Anya's existence was a threat, and in times of hunger, difference was punished most of all. Her parents, trapped between love and fear, began locking her inside the house. They thought it would protect her, but the walls became her prison. Each day she stared from the window, watching the world move forward while she stayed frozen in time. The neighbors grew more restless. Why was she hidden? What secret were her parents keeping? Whispers spread that she was not a child at all, but a devil, a punishment sent to her family. One night, a group of villagers gathered outside with torches. The air was thick with fear and hatred. They demanded to see the girl. Her parents trembled. To show her was to invite violence. To refuse was to risk suspicion of treason. In Stalin's Russia, suspicion could mean death. As the crowd shouted, Anya's parents realized they could not protect her forever. Their love was breaking under the weight of terror. The night the villagers broke into their home, everything changed. They pushed past the wooden door, flooding the small house with firelight and rage. Anya's mother clung to her daughter, but even she could not hide the trembling in her own hands. When the neighbors saw the child, small, frail, and unchanged after all these years, the room fell silent. For a moment, it seemed as though pity might overcome fear. But then one voice cut through. This is no child. This is an abomination. Fear exploded into violence. Furniture was overturned. Curses screamed. Anya's father stood between the mob and his daughter, but he was struck down. Her mother tried to shield her, but the weight of hatred was too strong. Anya's parents realized a devastating truth. They were not only afraid of what their daughter was, but also what the world would do to them if they protected her. To shield her meant risking their own lives. To give her up meant betraying the very child they had once cradled with love. That night, Anya was taken from her home. Some said she was dragged into the forest. Others claimed she was delivered to Soviet officials who specialized in making inconvenient people vanish. What is certain is this: she was never seen in the village again. Her parents lived on broken, haunted by the memory of the girl who never aged, the daughter they loved but could not save. The story of Anya is not just about one girl. It is about what happens when society decides that difference is dangerous. In 1930s Russia, where fear and conformity ruled, her condition became a symbol of everything people wanted to reject, everything they could not control. And so, instead of compassion, she was met with hatred. Her parents' fear was not just of their daughter. It was of survival itself. They lived in a world where stepping outside the norm meant ruin, where love could not always withstand the crushing weight of prejudice. They too became victims, trapped between their devotion to their child and their terror of what it meant to protect her. Though Anya's fate remains unknown, her story echoes across time. It reminds us of the countless children in history who have been cast out, shunned, or destroyed because of how they looked, who they were, or what they represented. Whether in Russia, America, or anywhere else, racial injustice thrives on the same fear difference. The tragedy of Anya forces us to ask, how many lives have been broken? How many voices silenced? Simply because society decided they did not belong? And in our own world today, will we choose fear or will we choose compassion?